Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, August 29th, 2019. Fire potential impacts continue today. We are looking for a continuation of thunderstorms to move up into Idaho, western Wyoming, and Utah throughout the day today as the moisture quickly moves through the Great Basin. We're already going to be seeing some drying move into portions of Nevada and western Utah with some gusty winds there as well. For tomorrow, some lingering thunderstorms will continue over the central Idaho mountains, and gusty winds will remain in the forecast there over eastern Idaho and western Wyoming. And by Saturday, we'll see a return of hot and dry conditions with an unstable atmosphere and high haines, possibly looking for some holdovers to pop up with those conditions on Saturday. A swath of lightning moved through the Great Basin yesterday, mainly over central Nevada and into southwest Utah. The highest amounts of precipitation were observed over southwest Utah and the Arizona Strip. And some of those storms in Nevada were a little bit drier, and we're already seeing dry air move back into those areas today. Initial attack activity has picked up due to some of these storms. Some of the larger fires there have been over the Arizona Strip and in eastern Nevada. Most of these fires are less than a couple hundred acres. Observed precipitation totals from the past 14 and 30 days are shown here. It's been a very dry couple of weeks across the Great Basin. Beyond that, we did see some wetter storms move in towards the first part of August. ERCs are quite high across the geographic area, particularly over Idaho and Utah, where some of those values are most of those values are between the 90th and 96th percentile, and we are looking for a generally dry pattern to continue. After this quick round of thunderstorms today, we'll see the dryness return for the weekend and into next week, which will allow those fire danger indices to remain elevated. Taking a closer look at a couple of our areas there in far western Nevada, those values are just below normal for the time of year. And then across the Arizona Strip, we have been sitting near the historical records for the last week or so. Those values will come down today behind some of that precip from yesterday. This morning's satellite imagery still continues to show that high pressure in place across the Great Basin, allowing this moisture to surge northward. You can kind of see where that moisture is in place over Utah and up into Idaho. That's where we'll expect to see the thunderstorms develop this afternoon, with drier air moving into western Nevada. We do have high-risk triggers issued for much of central and eastern Idaho, western Wyoming, and northern and central Utah for those dry, generally dry, some mixed wet and dry thunderstorms throughout the day today. Drier air with gustier winds will be moving into portions of western Nevada and southwest Utah. Again, here's a look at where we're expecting to see that precipitation. Any precipitation will be light, and the storms are going to be moving fairly quickly today, and so we're not expecting that precip to make a big impact on our fuel conditions. And for the wind this afternoon, gusty winds are going to be over western Nevada, southern Nevada, and southwest Utah. For tomorrow, more dry air continues to spread into the geographic area. So we'll see thunderstorm activity really decreasing for much of the geographic area, although some thunderstorms will continue over eastern Idaho and possibly northern Utah. But for the most part, dry with those dryness levels at showing very dry conditions. So for Friday, some very isolated thunderstorms over the central Idaho mountains and Wyoming, and possibly over some of the mountains of northern Utah. Winds will lighten up on Friday, but just remain somewhat gusty there over eastern Idaho and possibly over western Wyoming as well. On Saturday, the ridge remains fairly strong with drier and hotter conditions moving into the geographic area. So thunderstorms should really drop off significantly by Saturday. Minimum relative humidities are going to be back into the single digits over much of Nevada and the lower elevations of Utah, with maximum temperatures on Saturday still sitting in the mid to upper 90s, and those get even higher by Sunday. The 3-day precip totals are shown here. Again, this is just mostly for the precipitation today with those storms that move into Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. Most of the precip's going to really occur over the higher elevations. By Sunday, the ridge remains strong over the Great Basin with very hot temperatures and dry conditions. Some moisture looks to begin to move into the desert southwest, and we'll be watching this moisture as it moves northward into the Great Basin. Right now, the northern extent and the amount of precipitation that will be moving into the Great Basin is lower confidence. Looks like this may be overdone just a bit in terms of the precipitation, so we may be looking for more mixed wet dry thunderstorms moving back up into the Great Basin by the first of next week, and then on Tuesday possibly moving a little bit further northward, drying out a bit on Wednesday. So looking for another round of mixed wet dry thunderstorms early next week, possibly bringing some relief to the far southern portions of the Great Basin. The 7-day precipitation totals are shown here, and we can see many of those areas get a little bit more precipitation in the extended forecast than just in the next couple of days. So looking for possibly more moisture to move up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, but the confidence is fairly low in that event at this time. The extended forecast going into the second week of September is calling for continued above normal temperatures across the geographic area, but we are also looking for a slight chance of above normal precipitation moving in as we move into the middle of the month as well. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.